I would just want to talk about the 12 tips that I have on IT security. Tip number 1, device encryption. It's paramount that you encrypt your data. A lot of the time, this is actually contained within your existing Microsoft subscription. The technology is called BitLocker. What this enables you to do is to secure that data. Nobody can access that data if your device gets lost or stolen. Tip number 2, patch management. It is vital that your devices are patched. If your devices don't get patched with the latest releases from software vendors, it can become a security risk because it opens a vulnerability to that software. That vulnerability can then be utilized by attackers to be able to get in not only to your systems, but to your data as well. Tip number 3, to have internet filtering. Internet filtering stops you as a user from clicking on malicious links that could be utilized by an attacker to be able to get access to your data and systems. Tip number 4, to have antivirus on steroids. And what I mean by that is that antivirus has moved on. Back in the days that AV was a thing, it was signature based, which meant that it was only ever good enough to the actual vendor being able to get a patch out quick enough. What we have nowadays is a thing called EDR. And what EDR effectively does is it detects and responds to those events quicker because it looks for patterns and it has artificial intelligence built in. So having a robust EDR system in place means that you're not just waiting for the vendors to be able to release a patch to secure that vulnerability. Tip number 5, to have a standard company build. When purchasing of devices, those devices will usually come with bloatware. This is software that has been installed on the actual devices, normally because it's been sponsored by the particular software vendors to the hardware manufacturers. This bloatware could sit on your machine and you don't even use it. As you're not using them, there's a chance that they're not being updated. And if they're not being updated, that software can become a security threat. So having a base build, you flatten the machines, you rebuild that machine the same as you would any other device in the organization. Having that base build allows you to manage those applications and therefore manage your security. Tip number 6 is to have a good password manager. Most people, unfortunately, when the browser detects that you've entered username and password into a particular website, the browser, whether it be Edge or Chrome, will say, would you like me to save that password? Unfortunately, that's saved in plain text and stored within the browser. As an attacker, if they manage to infiltrate your systems, the first thing they're going to siphon off is that plain text password list, therefore give them access to a hell of a lot more than they probably could have. So instilling a good password management system would allow you to make sure that those passwords are kept safe and secure. They're not shared with other individuals using post-it notes. Autofill means that if a hacker is actually looking at any other data on your system, they're not going to be able to see those passwords in plain text. Tip number 7, secure your users with proper cyber security awareness training. We all take security for granted. In everything we do on a daily basis, we're not thinking about security. One of the things that I've come across in the past, using post-it notes to pass passwords around or passwords that they want to remember, sticking them onto their monitor. Or alternatively, leaving information lying around that somebody else coming into your place of work could actually see and understand more about your company and other ways that they could use to attack it. Make sure you have a clean desk policy. Make sure you don't use passwords written down on post-it notes. These are all things that can be given to you as small snippets of information via a training video. This will enable you to showcase the fact that you are aware of cybersecurity. Tip number 8, make sure that you audit regularly your cloud applications and on-premise applications. And why this is important, we're always forever signing up to new things, new shiny toys. As a techie, I always loved new tech. But having all of this signed up becomes a cybersecurity threat if left unchecked. Having a regular audit makes sure that things aren't missed, that people are overutilizing or underutilizing things, and therefore making sure that your cyber resilience is high. Tip number 9, and one of the most important of all of my tips today, make sure multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is turned on for everything. Whether it be an on-premise application or a cloud application, turn on MFA. The reason that this is a good idea is because it acts as an additional step to make you more secure. Hackers look at risk vectors. The harder you make it for a hacker, effectively, the more bored they will become, and they'll move on to somebody who is less secure. Having multi-factor authentication, all you need to do is to switch it on, and then as an additional step to your username and password is to type in a 6-digit code or fingerprint recognition or face recognition. Using multi-factor authentication will limit the amount of chance that the attacker will be able to come and get you. Tip number 10, data backup and testing. Very important. Have a routine and regular backup done of your data, both in the cloud and on-premise if you're using on-premise. What I mean by that is to make sure that if any data is compromised or a ransomware attack would be to happen, that your backup will be able to save you. Because in the end of the day, you do not want to be paying hackers to retrieve codes to unlock your data. As well as data backup, data testing to make sure that at any given moment that you can retrieve the data that you've backed up. Because in the event that a ransomware event was to happen, you need to make sure that you can retrieve that data. Tip number 11, your business should subscribe to some sort of cyber framework. Here at Accutech, we recommend and we can help you through the certification for Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. This framework will highlight areas of concern that we have for your business when it comes to security. And then our team of experts here at Accutech can help you and your business fill those gaps to mean that you're more secure on a daily basis. Having that framework in place and that certification enables you to have that certificate and the badge that you can promote to all your suppliers and your customers to say you're taking cybersecurity seriously. And finally, tip number 12, penetration testing. The one thing that binds all of the tips together is to at least once a year have your cybersecurity put to the test by the use of an external penetration test. This will do external and internal. It will produce a report that will tell you where the areas of concern are for you and us to help you fix those problems, make you more cyber resilient. Finally, tip number 12, test your cybersecurity by having a penetration test that's done on an annual basis. Accutech can help with this. We can perform the penetration test, which will look from an external and internal perspective, and we'll give you a report based upon that penetration test of the findings for the areas that we need to look at to fill those gaps to ultimately make you more cyber secure.